Hello and welcome to the Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League, the Champions League and the Europa League. I'm Robbie Mustoe and he's Robbie Earle. Here are today's topics. The Champions League group stage is set. Who are the favourites? PSG, City, Chelsea? Or is it too early to tell now? We can confirm that Harry Kane is indeed staying at Spurs. Or could it change with the news of Cristiano Ronaldo potentially going to Manchester City? Or Kylian Mbappe potentially on his way to Real Madrid? We will discuss the latest transfer rumours flying around right now. And of course, we'll look ahead at the exciting weekend in the Premier League featuring marquee matchups Manchester City versus Arsenal and Liverpool versus Chelsea. That's what's coming up in today's episode. All right, Robbie Earle. We do have the Champions League draw today, and the group stages are set. Let's have a little look at those, mate, particularly involving
the English clubs,
the English clubs. So let's start with Group A. So Manchester City have PSG, RB Leipzig, and Club Brugge. Group B is Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Porto, AC Milan. That's also difficult.
Nice, tasty.
Yeah, what else we got? So the English clubs are Group F.
We got Group F: Villarreal, Manchester United, Atalanta, and Young Boys. And then we go to Group H: Chelsea, reigning champions. Chelsea, Juventus, Zenit, and Malmo. So, a bit of a mixed bag. Let's start, I think, with Group A, Rob, because that seems a headliner. We've got Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, Pep v Poch. Plenty of quality on state. We'll see in the next 10 days what changes in either camp. Does Mbappe stay? Does City get a Ronaldo? Does City get an Mbappe? Does City get, who knows? It stays out there. But obviously, two huge games there. Got to feel a bit sorry for Club Brugge, haven't you? Man City, Paris Saint-Germain and RB Leipzig. Poor old Club Brugge. And Leipzig always a difficult test and never one you can take lightly. So while you would expect PSG and City to eventually get the business done and see themselves through, there's absolutely no given there, is it?
I think RB Leipzig, Rob, are always an interesting team. Again, it looks like there's two outstanding teams there, and there is, but you just got to be a bit careful. They're a bit wary when they play RB Leipzig. You know, the City might, for example, play PSG. They might lose. They might slip up against RB Leipzig, and then there's a little bit of pressure on them to qualify. But no, I mean, Lionel Messi at PSG with Pochettino, with brilliant attacking players, Rob. I mean, we'll get on to a little bit of transfer, but Mbappe going at this point when he's in his last year of his contract, Rob, they're talking about 180 million euros where if they wait a little bit for free. So I don't know whether that's going to go through, but in that group, mate.
Just on that briefly, Rob, in terms of looking forward to those games and the tactical. I mean, there is a sense that PSG have had great talent in the past, but maybe when they haven't had the ball, when they've needed a press, when they've needed defensive setup from the front, they haven't had that, and that's what's cost them in Europe. Is Poch going to be able to get that out of a Neymar, a Messi now, who we know is brilliant on the ball, but can't quite be relied without the ball, and whether Mbappe stays motivated or not? There's a lot of flair players who, once you've got the ball, can come alive. But the Champions League, Rob, has shown that you've got to be good without the ball as well.
Yeah, and that's we're going to get onto some odds from our friends at PointsBet, Rob. But yes, that even though Lionel Messi is there, it's still, the group hasn't managed with different managers, by the way. Unai Emery, Pochettino right now.
Thomas Tuchel,
who we know is a super coach, and he wants his defence set up first. None of them so far have been able to fix that kind of quandary of the old balance, mate, that we always talk about of attacking and defending and having the right sort of players and the right mix. Of course, Messi makes them much, much better going forward, but I still worry. And Pochettino is not really a coach, Rob, that's big on blocking up. I mean, he's an expansive, he's an attacking coach. And with this group of players, probably that's the way to go. But I think in this competitions we've seen from their club and from Man City, if you haven't got it figured out defensively, somebody will find a way to trip you up. So, of course, at group stages, absolutely, City and PSG, massive favourites to go through. But in terms of winning it, I almost don't care what deals are done. I don't think PSG will quite get it done. a very tough.
Let's go Group B.
Yeah.
Should we move on to Group B? Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Porto, AC Milan. So the Liverpool, AC Milan kind of head-to-head comeback in there. Atletico Madrid, who've been a little bit of a thorn in the side for Liverpool team. We know what they're going to bring with Simeone and the way they play, and they're all out kind of energy and drive and commitment to defend. I think that's it's a tough duel for Liverpool, this one.
Really tough. I mean, I think for the English clubs, we'll chat the other two as well, which is one of them a little bit interesting. But I think this is difficult. There's no question. This is difficult. I mean, Liverpool right now looking in great fettle. You know, all the big boys are fit. They look good. There's different attacking options. It looks like the club's been given a real kind of injection of enthusiasm and a little bit of quality as well. But you're right, and Liverpool have to be at it, Rob. I mean, you still, again, you look at them and the list, and you still fancy them. But there's some tricky matchups there. I mean, the group stages for the most part, Rob, and we look at these every single season, mate, and you can kind of go around each group and you can kind of see who's going to go through. And for the most part, the big boys get through. There's sometimes a bit of an upset. But again, Atletico and Liverpool, you know, if they're 80% of their powers in these games, I still think they should get through this group. Yeah,
I think that one's the inverted group of death that we'll have to swing one group on. I think that would probably be it. Yeah. Let's move along to Group F, which I don't think we could ever say is quite the group. But Villarreal, Manchester United locking horns again after the Europa final. I'm sure Man United is going to want to get one of them. Atalanta and Young Boys. Again, not going to be easy against Unai Emery's team, but I would fancy United and possibly Atalanta in there. I think they're a difficult, dangerous team who've upset some of the big boys along the way. So could see United should take care of business in that one, mate. Yeah, they should, Rob. But if they're not at it, I mean, they could beat Villarreal in a massive game. Atalanta are, in recent seasons, super attacking, energetic, awkward opponents. Man United blew it last year in the Champions League. They got pushed out at the group stages. Yes, in theory, I would put my money on United going through, but I think it's difficult. We talk about Liverpool and their group that they should. I think it's not a given, mate. It's not a given the way that they can sometimes not turn up in games. I mean, again, we're not sure. Can the manager really get hold of them and make sure they get through? Again, that they will be one of the favourites, but it wouldn't surprise me, mate. It wouldn't totally surprise me if they miss out because of that inconsistencies sometimes. Let me throw one at you. What if they were to miss out, but then strengthen their push for the title? How are you with that? Not
okay with it.
Well,
I mean, Champions League isn't Man United should be
absolutely, but I would say if there was a priority, and you can't prioritise these tournaments because you got to go for everything. And when you're Man United, you've got to go to win everything. Yeah. But I could live with a year where they don't get through, Rob, to be proper title challengers up top of the table at this stage when it restarts in February. And Man United are top of the table. I can kind of live with that.
Yeah, I think United fans will be, Rob. I think the United fans would love to see them first or second in this Premier League table after the first few weeks when the league table settles down. And if they can be right there at the top, then that is the priority for Manchester United. But again, I know I've said this group's a tricky group. It's not tough. It's not really, but you would expect them to go through. And another push into the Europa League, given that group, I don't know. The fans are like, wow, can I get us over the line in something like that? So, I don't think so.
Interesting one. I'm sure United at this stage will be looking to go deep in both competitions, but just wonder if we do come down to a stage where the best 11 and he's got to stop picking teams for one or the other, whether the title will be his focus. Chelsea Group H, Juventus, Zenit and Malmo. I think Chelsea, the way he's prepared by Thomas Tuchel and the way he goes about his business. Juventus, not quite the force that they were, and whether it's with Ronaldo or without Ronaldo, I would think that Chelsea would be favourites to come out of that group.
Yeah, favourites. Zenit and Malmo, shouldn't. I mean, particularly given the size of Chelsea's squad, Rob, and the ability that they're going to have to rotations, and there's a brilliant squad of players. Yeah, I think they'd be okay at that group. Juventus, of course, you'd expect them to go through as well. Just before we move on, we should just touch on the other groups, Rob. I just got them here in front of me.
Yeah.
And not there's anything kind of too amazing to. I mean, Group E just stands out. Bayern Munich and Barcelona.
Bayern and Barca. Yeah.
You know, that's a. I mean, listen. I just love this competition, and I love the best teams of European countries coming together. I just think they're fantastic games. So interesting, so fascinating. You know, sometimes there's a few dead rubbers, Rob, in this group stage, which is a bit,
it's a bit of a shame. Yeah,
it's a bit of a shame, but that's got a couple of star teams in it. Group D
as well. Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Rob. Two massive clubs. No, both probably not at the level they'd like to be in the past, but still big clubs can still have big days, and back with fans back in the stadiums, and changes the dynamic for some of those teams. So. Interesting to see, what versions of Milan and Madrid we see in this competition. And then Group C has got Sporting, it's got Dortmund, it's got Ajax and Besiktas. So very good football there. Teams that will be well coached and always like dangerous opposition. I always think those kind of teams, the kind of teams that we take for granted. Ajax. Well, we've had a few who've had a bloody nose against those teams.
Yeah, and I look forward to those games because it's a couple of clubs there in Dortmund and Ajax that do regenerate their teams with young players, Rob. And Ajax, they create a really good team. They sell them more often, and they go again. So always interested I am to watch Ajax because, you're looking at a few stars of the future. And, I'm not sure what it's going to look like this season, to be honest. I'm not keeping an incredibly close eye on Ajax right now, but I like watching them in this competition. And with Dortmund in there as well. I mean, that Group C is there. It's absolutely there. That's very, very, without any of the super clubs in that group, that's going to be one that teams can totally get through to knockout stage there.
And will this be Haaland's possibly last season with Dortmund in the Champions League? I mean, with all the news, and we'll get onto the Harry Kane moving and not moving and whether that triggers Haaland. I mean, get the sense that we're coming close to the time where he's going to be looking for that big move, Rob, whether it's Premier League or La Liga.
Yeah, it will be it will be his last season with Dortmund. I would think. I mean, there's talk. Well, it's going to be talk now forevermore about Erling Haaland, but there's Bayern Munich were meant to be kind of getting themselves ready to try and entice the player. Who knows where he's going to go, Rob? And we all know. I think we know now that Borussia Dortmund, when they say that the player is not going, in a summer window, I think everybody believes it because we all know what happens at Dortmund, and we all know the players they've signed, they've developed, and they've sold on. But they've never been a soft touch in that stuff, so they know what they're going to do. He will go next summer. We'll see where, but no, it might be. But again, that's why this group is kind of a fun watch because Erling Haaland, everybody wants to watch him, Rob, and see if the hype is real and if his stunning presence as a centre forward, his pace, his finishing, his desire, his determination to score goals is pretty appealing to watch. So that should be a fun group.
Yeah, certainly should, mate. Let's go to our PointsBet Sportsbook, our partners who've given us the odds based on the draw for the Champions League. Maybe no surprise, favourites at plus 300 PSG, followed by Manchester City plus 350. Then we go out to Bayern Munich at plus 700, Chelsea at plus 800, Liverpool at plus 900, and then we go up to Manchester United at plus 1400, Real Madrid plus 16, Barca plus 2,000, Juve 2,000, Atletico 2,000, Atalanta 5,000, and Inter 5,000. So PSG just slightly ahead of Manchester City. And then, a little bit of a gap to Bayern and Chelsea at plus 800, having won it last time around.
Okay, let's figure out where we're going to put our few little dollars, Robbie. I'm not putting anything on PSG at plus 300. No,
me neither. Because of the conversation we've had.
Yeah, I think plus 350 at Man City. I mean, it might be that... I get that. I do get that because I think they have to be one of the strong favourites. We'll get into transfers and potential Ronaldo and now not Kane. Bayern at 700, no thank you. Chelsea 800, mate. Plus 800, Chelsea, the defending champions. Plus Lukaku. There's your value. There's your value right there. Plus Liverpool at plus 900.
Yeah, plus 900. Yeah,
that's where my little few dollars are going on Chelsea and Liverpool with those odds.
Yeah,
United at plus 1400. No, Real Madrid, Barcelona. No, I think it does come from those top four clubs, and I'd be going with the slight outsiders in those four, with Chelsea at plus 800, Liverpool at plus 900.
I'd probably go slightly different. I'd probably go Bayern at plus 700 because I still think on their day, and then I go Liverpool. I tell you why I go Chelsea, because I think they're all in for the other thing. I think this year is they're all in for, and not that they can't go both because they're deep, but I just got a sense like if they're sniffing that trophy this year, they'll be all out to win that again. So having won it last season, listen, it's always hard to go back to back as well. Liverpool might just be the year. We've seen them revitalise. We've seen them have the days, a bit like the year before they won the title, went out and won the Champions League, and that set them up. I just wonder if sort of getting back to those kind of nights and winning again and that feeling regenerates them for one big push.
Just looking at the odds again, Manchester United, Rob, plus 1400. I mean,
yeah, it's not bad.
They've strengthened Rafael Varane, and Jadon Sancho. Can they win it?
Their best 11 on any given night, Rob, with an atmosphere and they're in the right space, absolutely can beat any team in Europe. What the Champions League might mean, Rob, is though that once you go through the group stage, and we expect them to go through that, you can't really have too many hiccups. And Manchester United at the moment, every now and then, as we saw with Southampton in the league, have one of them days. If you have one of them days in the Champions League, that can be you out of the competition. For me, that's what slightly holds United back. Just aren't sure when they should go away and get a 1-0 or make sure they don't get beat. Sometimes you get a sloppy performance and that can cost you.
Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid, Robbie, we know he's great manager. We see Gareth Bale starting to look good and score goals. Eden Hazard is back in the side now, started playing. We all know about Benzema, Kylian Mbappe. Even though I think it's unlikely, it might happen. Now, if you've got that sort of attacking talent, and again, this is why this league is like a blimmin', it's a fantasy league, isn't it?
Yeah, plus 1600. Yeah.
It might be worth a little, a little investment.
Can we wait till the window shuts before we decide where our $1 is going to go? Can we just wait till the window?
I think we've got to be careful with that.
I mean, it's a hard-earned $1. I don't want to spend it unwisely.
All right, but they're your odds. They're your odds, and
might change might they over the next week or two if some business is done in one or two places. Yeah. So let's revisit this, and maybe in a couple of weeks when the window's done, and then maybe before the games kick off, we'll have a view and maybe say who we fancy and who we don't. Let's get to the transfer activity, mate, because we've had a week of all kinds of headlines coming up in the football world. It's never been a quiet moment. Let's start with probably the big story that's been running all summer. From the end of last season, there's been a countdown. I think at some stage, both of us, certainly I, felt that Harry Kane would end up in the blue of Manchester City. That has been curtailed by a statement from Harry saying that he was now going to stay at Spurs. Quite cryptically, that he was going to stay at Tottenham this summer. Interesting words. But pretty much puts the end to the Man City bid, and probably, you think, with his age and the amount of money we're talking, the end of him ever really playing for City.
Yeah, and it's funny, Rob, but now we can kind of move on with the story here and start kind of giving some kind of thoughts on the whole situation, the whole debacle, and whether, is it that we should feel sorry for Harry Kane? Should we applaud Daniel Levy? Are we where like is it kind of finishes up now, Rob? I know I'll get to my thoughts, but I want your kind of thoughts on this whole situation. Is Harry Kane going to be happy right now? Is he going to, is he going to be resentful to the vice chairman and Daniel Levy? Did Levy stitch him up in inverted commas, like said he was going to let him go, but then actually no, you're not going? What do you think, Rob? Like in the whole, and then throw in there a bit of Harry Kane's father and brother as an agent. There's a lot of angles.
In the whole aspect of the whole situation, Rob, my first thought is, well done Spurs, well done Daniel Levy. That's my takeaway.
Wow.
That's my takeaway. Well done Spurs. You have a player that's come through your ranks as a kid, has been a brilliant servant for you, and you value him at £150 million. If you want him, if you go to a shop, if I go to buy a Ferrari and I go into the store and I go, here's $20,000 from a Ferrari, and he said it's $100,000, I can't go, well, we had an agreement with the guy, the sales. It's $100,000. Pay the money or don't get the car. Pay the money or don't get the player. Manchester City have the money, can get the money. Don't offer me 75 million or in add-ons or 100 million and a few cast-off players that maybe aren't doing it for you or you don't want, because you're taking my biggest asset. And it also, where I like my stand comes from, Rob, and I know we're going to differ on this, is that money doesn't rule everything. Money shouldn't rule everything. And it hasn't ruled in this situation. Manchester City generally go for someone, pay the money and get them. The Mahrezes and the Sterlings and the De Bruynes and others. And some of them are more developed and some work with Pep and get better. But they're used to getting what they want. This time their money or their position couldn't. Not great work from Harry Kane and his team. Got an owner that's stubborn, that wants his way, that wants the value for the player. And guess what? Harry hasn't got it. And I wrote down, Rob, what's really interesting for me with Harry Kane now is I think we're at a Harry BC and a Harry AC. A Harry before Kane was all that's gone on before this happened. And then Harry Kane has told his football club, I want to leave. I want to go. I don't want to be here. Now there's a Harry Kane after City. What's this about? This summit? Is it goals? Harry Kane now has got to get his head down, score goals, maybe get his contract that he wants, I hear, and put his clause in there if he's won, because his dad and his son didn't do that properly. As he did today, scored a couple of goals, get 20 odd. And you know the other thing he can do that sort of puts two fingers up to everyone? Win something, Rob. Win some silverware. Win a cup. Win the league with Tottenham if they can do it. That's why I'm with Harry Kane. Rant over. Step up.
I respect that. I respect that, my friend, as I respect everything that you say. I think just first of all, things that we agree on, right? And anybody listening to this, the contract situation with his brother and his father acting as his agent, signing a 6-year contract that did many things. They put him on a really good salary, okay, but it also made sure that the kid that came through the academy that was nurtured by this great football club in Spurs were going to get their payday when they decided to sell him. So he signed that contract, given the club that insurance, and yet their representatives let him down with no release clause. Like, that's pretty stunning, given some of the other players that have done that. We know about Jack Grealish, etc. Maybe it's a little bit different situation. That we agree on, right? That the representatives of Harry Kane didn't do their jobs properly. Now, where we're going to differ is you're saying, well done, Daniel Levy, and well done, Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I just feel, given what he's done, given the conversation that they had, given, around that time of the contract, if we're not going for the championship or we're not, there's a few parameters there that he said, then you'll let me go for a fair price, okay? And I'll tell you where we're going to come to the crux of this, Rob, is this is what's frustrating for us and for all media covering these stories, is we're still not sure of the truth of what Man City offered. Because this is what's going to come down to, Rob. Harry Kane can say to Daniel Levy, Daniel, you said that if I wanted to get to leave and to go on to win trophies because his ability deserves that in his career, then you'd let me go. And then going back to what you said about that you've got to have the money to pay for the car, what was the offer? We have an amazing comparison right now with Romelu Lukaku. They're almost the same age. They've just scored a ton of goals in the last few seasons for their club sides. International goals are similar. European goals is very similar. Now, I think Harry Kane is probably, it's arguable, by the way. If you ask for people, who would you sign right now, Kane or Lukaku? I think most would go for Kane, but a lot I've heard would go for Lukaku. So there's a good valuation. So he went for just under 100 million. So if that offer from City was around 100 million or 120 million, If I'm Harry Kane, I would expect Daniel Levy, because you've got a comparable in Lukaku and what his fee was, to say, that's a fair price. Harry's been amazing for us. We had a conversation and we said I'd let him go. It's the right thing to do. The fans realised it. Everybody realises it. We talked about it. We both thought, Rob, that he was going to go. Why should Man City pay 150, 160 million pounds and pay over the top? Because that's over the top, in my opinion. That's over the top, in my opinion. And Kane was the understanding of the fair price. I will let you go. And it feels like, and again, this is what's frustrating, Rob, because we don't know the facts. We don't know what was the offer. Was it 80? Was it 100? I've heard anything from 80 to 120 million pounds from Man City. That's what I've heard. I don't know what the truth is. If the truth, and I'll stop in a minute, Rob, if the truth is that Man City offered 80 million plus another player, I get it from Daniel Levy. I get it. That's not fair value. Sorry, Harry. And I, if we get a fair offer, I will sell you. If that's the truth, no problem with what's happened. If it's 100, 120, then I have a problem, because I think that's a fair offer for a player with we have a comparable with Lukaku, and I think that's what will be so frustrating, given what he's done and how he protected the club. They're going to get all that money plus what he's given them over the last few years of his regular goal scoring, and for it to be shut in his face, that would be tough to take. But again, I'll say it for last time, we don't know what the offer was, and that is a big, big part of this whole subject.
And I hear you, and I take on your points, and just like you said, I respect your views and your points, and they make strong arguments. Where I'm going to come back, and not to pick holes, but to try and add a bit more context to what we're saying in the conversation. Our Premier League insider, David Ornstein, kind of got an insight, these very top press people get an inside track of roughly. We know the number was somewhere around 150. It's been banning 150 million pounds of what Spurs wanted. Now, whether what Manchester City got to, we know it's not there yet, and rumours are that it's somewhere between 80 and as you say, maybe 120. A couple of things that interest me, Rob, with what you said. One is, why am I comparing Harry Kane to Romelu Lukaku when they're different animals in different situations?
Because it's comparable you're going to get.
Yeah, but let me get to you then. Right. Inter Milan wanted to sell Romelu Lukaku and get 90-odd million pounds, let's say, replace him with a 1 or 2 million Edin Dzeko. They want the money. They want to sell him. They want the asset gone and they want to raise the money. Spurs have never once said they want to sell Harry Kane. Harry Kane said he wants to leave the club. Harry Kane said he wants to leave the club, having signed a 6-year contract, having earned the money, having not got the clause in his contract. Agreed. Harry Kane has absolutely no legs to stand on when the offer's got to be so good that Spurs can't afford to turn that down.
Has it got that good, Rob?
Why Spurs don't want to sell him? If you're Nuno, Rob, okay, I hear you. Put your position at Nuno or any Spurs manager. You got your best player who says he wants to leave. Players have said they wanted to leave. Wayne Rooney said he wanted to leave at Man United 2 or 3 times, and some of the greats have gone down that road to get what they want. But Harry Kane says he wants to leave. Your Spurs manager, he's your best player. He guarantees you 20 goals a season. You don't want to sell him. And then the chairman comes and goes, "Well, come on, Harry's been a good lad. He's been here since a kid. Go on, let's let him go for 100. Let's let him go for 100. Makes our team weaker. Don't get the money we want. Probably doesn't give us time to spend and get what we want. I'm hurting my football club, Rob. And my job as Daniel Levy, as owner, as manager, is to do the best for Tottenham Football Club. Not the best for Harry Kane, because as great as he's been, when Harry's finished, that club's going to be there with its 60,000-odd stadium and its brilliant potential. So that's what Daniel Levy's got to protect. That's what Nuno has got to protect. And Harry Kane, unfortunately, now has to get on with it.
The bit you say about Inter Milan with Lukaku, are you saying that they let him go undervalued? Then are you?
No, I'm saying... I'm not saying he's undervalued. No, I'm saying that's a fair argument. But I'm saying they wanted the money. They were prepared to. If Spurs were in a position where they needed to get £100 million, do you know what they do? Come on, everybody, have a go. Harry Kane's available. Harry Kane's available. Who wants him? Who wants him? Let's start the bidding. Spurs aren't in that position.
But okay, so let's go back to the soppy soft bit, right? The awkward piece here.
Which surprises me with you, by the way, as a man who's a principal who's usually black and white. And if it's in my contract, I get it. If it's not in my contract, I don't. It's like saying...
You're Mr. Hardball, by the way. So back to the contract.
I'm understanding football clubs and I'm understanding contracts because I signed them. And I had a couple of times where a couple of clubs come in and I would have liked to move. But guess what? I was on a contract and had to stay to it, Rob.
So if you were Harry Kane, Rob, right, and you had a conversation with your chairman and said, I will sign a contract. But, if things aren't going well, then I would like the opportunity to move on.
Of course I'll say yeah. Because I'm not wanting you to sign a contract.
Does it mean nothing to you? Then you want the opportunity to go on.
It doesn't mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. But it also, Rob, this is high end, hundreds of millions of pounds business. I would make sure when I'm having that conversation that my agent goes, and that number, Mr. Levy, is, we work out that number.
Well, we agree on that. I'm just trying to get to our differences, and our differences are that you say a conversation between a chairman and a player, a legendary player that's done so much for that club, and then he's just going to say, no, sorry, this is the chance. We all know,
I hear you, Rob. I hear you, but I'm also saying, listen, people can misinterpret those conversations. Daniel Levy might have said, you know what, at a certain time, if I can do it, and Harry might take it a certain way. That's why we need stuff written down. That's why people put numbers in contract. That's why agents do what they do. Harry, it's like saying right now, who could I say right at the top of his game at Liverpool, Mo Salah doesn't say, oh, you've got an agreement, let me go. There's an offer coming from Real Madrid. Come on, Liverpool. I mean, it just doesn't happen, Robbie. It's almost amateur hour from Harry Kane. And if that's the only reason, the biggest reason, I'm afraid it's come back to haunt him.
Yeah. And we'll finish it here, Rob. I've obviously got your point. Yeah. I still maintain my gut feeling right now is I feel bad for Harry Kane. And you make valid points. We don't know what the offer was, which is that's the thing that's tough here. And if the offer's 80 million, I get it. I just feel bad for him. And again, listen, maybe most of our listeners don't feel bad for him, but doesn't every listener, a fan, think of a player that's done an unbelievable job? He's saying so long contracts for the club, don't miss out. I tell you, and whether it means that other Spurs players don't sign long contracts, won't renew under this football club, I don't know, or they're all demanding release clauses. I just feel like, wow, this was it felt like the right time to move on. No club wants to see his best player leave. No fans, of course, we all get that. But this one situation, and everyone's taken a case by case, was like, it feels like the right time. It's like, if the price is a fair price, and of course I understand that from the club and Levy's point of view, then he'll be allowed to move on. And it's annoying, mate. We don't know what that offer is. All I would say, just final. So you think he's worth 150 million pounds? Do you think that's the number that it should be?
I think that's the number what Spurs want. I don't think a Ferrari's worth $100,000, but if that's what people tell me it's worth, it is. I either pay it or I don't.
I just want to push you, Rob, before we move on.
If there was a number, I would say.
Yeah, what should the number be?
120. I would say 120 is the number. I think there's a premium on. There's a premium on Kane. He's English. He's England captain. He's guaranteed. He's won the Golden Boot. I think there's a premium on Kane and Lukaku. Yeah. So I'd say 120.
So if the offer came in for 120 and Levy's still saying no, that would make him out of order.
No, because I keep telling you, unless Harry's got somebody. This gentleman's conversation, Rob, is we're hearing Harry's version of it. Daniel Levy could sit with us and give us his version of the gentleman's conversation, and it'd be nothing. It'd be nowhere near.
All right.
But listen, I still think there's legs in this one, not in terms of the deal, but maybe where Harry goes. He did score a couple of goals today in the Conference League. That gets him up and running. Nuno's got him back in the group, and I just think now, Harry, get your head down. win something at Spurs and prove everybody wrong. 223 goals, no trophies, I think it is.
Yeah. All right, mate. Let's move it on. We spent a long time on that. Gosh, what's the next rumor we're going to talk about?
Cristiano Ronaldo, my friend, is dare I say it, of a great player who's, I think, it's 30 plus goals in 11 of his last 12 seasons. So, like, at a level and an age, it is incredible. But he's been hawked around, Robbie Mustoe. He's been hawked around the great clubs in Europe to find a suitor. That feels a bit awkward to me.
Yeah, I think it's into his final year of his contract, I believe. And Juventus won like 25, 30 million quid. Our understanding right now from reporters and different sources is that Man City don't really want to pay a massive fee because he's a 36-year-old player. They're going to have to pay a lot of wages. Forget the money for right now, Rob. Let's just think about, Ronaldo in a Man City shirt at the top of the field in a number 9. He can float all over the place. Is it as good as what I'm thinking it could be for City if he goes there? He's such a hungry scorer. He's such a fit guy. Yeah. I mean,
it's not the worst, is it? It's not the worst.
It's good.
Again, a bit like the PSG thing, and Pep's probably more demanding of his forwards in terms of wanting them to start the press and be the first part of his defence. I mean, Aguero, he had to work with that, and you got the sense at times those two didn't always see eye to eye. That would be a bit of an issue. The wages, Rob, is a problem. I think it's 25 million after tax a year that blows the dressing room apart. What you can't afford is De Bruyne going, hold on a minute, and then all of a sudden, we've seen dressing rooms. You've talked many times of that Middlesbrough dressing room when the big boys come in, Ravanelli's in that. It doesn't have to change the dynamic. Now, again, maybe Pep can handle that. Maybe at a big club where you've got superstars, people deal with that. But I'm just sort of saying some of the things that could affect that decision. It's not just purely does Ronaldo make us better? Listen, you take them goals and you take that profile and you sell those shirts. Being that he's ex-United, don't think matters that much these days. I mean,
doesn't it?
Well, Rafa's manager at Everton didn't seem to worry too many people.
I think Man United fans would be...
Man United fans won't be happy, but I'm talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think it would bother him.
I don't think it would bother him. No. Well, it's just, should it? Like, his legacy at United, what he did there,
you would think so. Geez, you would think. And he's always talked about there's only one club in Manchester for him and what it's meant to him being at that football club. But sometimes I think when you're not a non-English player, it maybe doesn't mean as much as maybe foreign players who come in and stay at clubs a certain while. I don't know. It's interesting.
So there'll be a little bit of rotation he'll have to deal with, Rob. I think he'll be okay with that. I mean,
is he a Pep type player, Rob? Is he? I mean, the drive and the hunger I get. Is he? Does he fit Pep's mould?
I think in that position as a centre striker, in any other position, absolutely not. But because of the situation, because they've got a ton of great midfield players, isn't he the most? He's a hungry scorer. And we know what City do, getting in behind those fullbacks and pulling the ball back. He'll be there all the time to tap them in. He'll be sharp as attack inside the penalty box. He'll be getting free. You play the ball up to his feet, Rob. He can take care of the ball. He's not clumsy with it. He's got great skill. He'll move. I just think I think he'd be brilliant for City. I really do. Given that everything else,
Champions League winner, knows how to win that Champions League as well, doesn't he?
He's a winner. He's got this fire in his belly. Yeah, it's just whether that the pressing part, Rob. I think Pep would get him fired up to do that. The high pressing, the City dominate the ball. It's not as though he's got to be knocking down the field, Rob, help defending and making runs in behind. They're going to play like City play in one half. They play in the opponent's half, so a lot of running up and down the field. He's a scorer. You look at his numbers; it's a phenomenal number. So, listen, it's a long way to go yet. And I think I heard it today. 2 weeks ago, it was freezing cold. Right now, today, it's lukewarm. City, it's lukewarm, which is really interesting. Wow, that would be a coup for the club, a coup for the Premier League. Robbie Earle, a coup for NBC to cover this guy in this Premier League
back in the league. Wow,
just be odd seeing him in that shirt, that sky blue. Oh my goodness.
Shirt.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Well, we'll see. We've got a few more days left in this transfer window, so we'll see how that plays. Real Madrid, I believe, are paying another mega offer for Kylian Mbappe. After £145 million now. They want the money covered for Monaco that they paid and a little bit on top. It would seem that Mbappe is pretty clear that he doesn't want to stay at the football club. I know there's been some fallout with the ownership group. He's got a year left on his contract, Rob, and you're talking about 130-40 million pounds now, or you could wait 12 months and get him for nothing. It just seems remarkable money being bandied around.
Yeah, given the state of finances in the clubs in Spain and Real Madrid, and we all know about the Barcelona debt that they're in right now. I think astronomical numbers there. It would be crazy. I mean, particularly when you gather that that's where he wants to go. I mean, it seems like all the top players, Real Madrid is this icon of a football club in European football that most want to go there. I think Mbappe said many times that he wants to go to Real Madrid, so why not wait to the end of the season? So that's why I don't think it would happen. But I mean, it's great, isn't it? 1 week goes by, Rob, and we got so many star players. It's rumours.
They're still saying that Jorge Mendes, Ronaldo's agent, was talking to PSG as well. If Mbappe goes, they may want another body in there. Can you imagine? So all of a sudden you've got Messi and Ronaldo with Neymar in a PSG front line, which looks pretty frightening. I mean, Poch must be scratching his head thinking, wow, what have I got here? Bit of news, not quite as a headline, but Zouma looks like he's pretty much done for West Ham. I think he's having a medical, I heard, in Paris recently today, which I'm not quite sure why Paris has become the place. And Jules Kounde could be on his way to Chelsea. I know it's a defender, young defender, 22 years of age. I've been looking at, plays right side of centre-back, young, athletic, and get about the ball, comfortable in possession, sort of fits the Tuchel mould. And I think it's at one position we'd say, if you're looking at where you might be able to improve Chelsea, probably another centre-back would be that area, really. Yeah,
and I mean, if this deal is done, it's more great business from a club that are the best. They're the best in the business of football. It's beyond doubt, with the amount of pros they've got and the young players they develop and put in the team, or most often develop and sell for big money to buy the bits that they haven't been able to develop. That's what they've done over the years. I said it the other day when we were in our broadcast on the show, Rob, that the money for Lukaku has been generated by sales. It just has, from players that we know about, Tomori and Tammy Abraham, to ones that we don't know so much. Some of the Norwich took a couple, and I think there's a couple of smaller clubs taken.
And
they generate the money. So that would be another great bit of business. Jules Kounde, our understanding and all the reports and the bits we've seen of him, he looks a phenomenal centre back, and it would make them instantly better, I would say. So that would be amazing if that. I know there's been talk about this Kounde to Chelsea for a long time now. And Sevilla have been a little stubborn on the price that they want for him, and have not tried to be bullied into selling him to Chelsea. But it's one that I think is more likely to happen than not before August 31st.
Yeah, has there been some rumours with Weston McKennie as well? Moving on, there's some rumours being floating around.
Yeah, a very strong player for the national team. The Juventus move was interesting. I think he surprised a lot of people how comfortable Rob. He looks wherever he plays, and for whoever he plays with, that confidence is very apparent. He's technically really, really good. In terms of a Premier League move, I would just.
He's got to go somewhere where he wants to play, though, doesn't he? He's got to play if he moves. Doesn't want to be moving and then benching and in and out. Isn't it a place where, I don't know, a Tottenham or somewhere where he could hold a spot possibly?
Yeah, I think the technical quality is the attraction there, Rob, and whether that fits in with a blend of midfield players at Spurs, it probably does. But they have got, this is assuming that Tanguy Ndombele is leaving the club. Big money signing that's not really fitted in. Giovanni Lo Celso, Rob scored tonight in that
been in and out.
Europa Conference League. He's a technically gifted player, similar sort of player to Weston McKennie. So I don't know which club it might be, but I just think we'd love to see a lot of talent in the Premier League. I think US men's national team players coming into the league adds a spice for us as well, given we're broadcasting in the US. We keep a close eye on some of this group of talented players that are coming through. I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see him come into the Premier League. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like it's the way, isn't it? Going into other parts of Europe and then finding your way into the Premier League is the way for most of these US men's national team players. And yeah, as like I said, Pulisic, we know it adds numbers and adds a little bit more intensity to the games when one of your own's involved, as Spurs will tell you with Harry Kane. Let's move it on, mate, to Premier League preview this week coming up. We've got a couple of really big games. We start early with a kick-off, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Manchester City hosting Arsenal. So Pep against Arteta, his former assistant. A Man City team that obviously lost the first day, but got back to business, 5-0 win last time out against Norwich. Against an Arsenal team that obviously found it difficult in the league, but did get a 6-0 win in the League Cup, Rob, that goals help. Patrick for Aubameyang helps. Got one or two players, Odegaard on the pitch, Saka on the pitch, Lacazette. So how do we see this one? Is this the start of an Arsenal revival?
I think Arsenal fans need to see a strong performance, Rob. I don't think anybody expects them to go there and win. Of course, they'll try and do that. Incredibly difficult given where they're going. And it's good news for Birmingham. I get that West Brom have, and by the way, Rob, just side note, the League Cup, what's going on with the League Cup when championship sides and that are putting out under 23? What is going on with that cup? Anyway, so of course, you expect Arsenal to win that game. They did. I still think it's good that Aubameyang's playing. I still think it's good for a striker to feel hitting the back of the net again.
Yeah, of course it is.
He's a star player. He's a top class finisher, Aubameyang. They need him.
In central, Robbie started central, which is quite interesting.
Yeah,
doesn't have to always work from the left. You can stay down the middle and score goals.
Well, given Odegaard's there, given Saka's there, given Pepe's
Smith
there.
Smith Rowe.
There's quite a lot of attacking midfield and wide players for those roles. And he's the best striker at the club, Aubameyang. If you can get him up front firing with those guys behind him, the younger players, and that's why I said about a couple of weeks ago, Rob, that Lacazette, but particularly Aubameyang, is so key. It's so key to get those firing. Because without those, the young ones it looks a little bit that they need some help. Aubameyang can give them that help with his ability to score. One thing, Rob, we have to mention, mate, and it's a flipping sad, tough thing to say right now, is Benjamin Mendy. Benjamin Mendy has been suspended at the moment by the football club Man City, pending an investigation after being charged with 4 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. Nothing else we want to say about it at this moment in time. It's a shocking kind of headline to tell everybody. I think he's due in court tomorrow, Rob. Am I right?
Yeah, due in court tomorrow. So we might hear, by the time that this podcast's out and people are listening, we may know more news on the story. As you say, it's a real serious subject. We have to be very careful of having any opinion at this stage as things move on. But just another case of another distraction at Manchester City, Robin. The Kane things broke this week. The Mendy thing at another level is shocking and affects the dressing room and, affects your football club. It's important Pep just keeps the focus and make sure everybody's sort of in the right space to make sure they're getting the points and not having any more sloppy performances. The 1-0 win to Spurs was a shock. And it's not like Man City to have too many of those kind of days.
No, it's not. And to be fair, Benjamin Mendy, Rob, was playing a lot in pre-season. And we know they've got a massive squad and they've got covering in that position as well. But I think they will. I think the manager's experienced enough and probably had, all sorts of stuff happen to his squads in the past. I don't think that's going to affect this game. But I given what we saw last time, Rob, with Arsenal and how they played against Chelsea and how open they were, if they're the same against City, it will not end well. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if we didn't see a much more of a compact, cautious, pragmatic Arsenal. That it has to be. And by the way, you're kind of forced to do that with the way that City play, and they pin you back a little bit because they can't get the ball. So, of course, City, I think, for win, but Arsenal fans, you're going to need to see a strong performance. I still, and this is just me, I still feel that there's a huge, there's pressure that's been thrown on Arteta right now, Rob, after 3 games or whatever it is. It is a bit like, can we all just kind of calm down a little bit? It's a bad start. I get that. Broken records for Arsenal, have never lost a 2 and never not scored. Yeah, it's not great, but you can't think about the next couple of games. I'll be out of the club. Wow, like calm down. Give the guy a bit of time. He's got some of his COVID guys back, as we saw. He's going to get some of his injured guys back. Let's judge him on his new son when they've played a few games, by the way, Rob. And what this new look team is going to start to look like, instead of throwing this mad pressure on him like now, like he's got to win. I heard somebody saying he's got to win at Man City. What?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, there's all this talk. Conte's out of business, isn't there? And you know, whether he's the right one. And I mean, the start of Brentford doesn't help against a newly promoted team, and then that's compounded by Chelsea and City that we knew was coming. So honestly, you must feel like Mikel Arteta would like get to the international break, just cool his jets, maybe a draw. He said it's an important game for him just to kind of kickstart his season, isn't it? Just a draw at City would be a great result for him, and just I say get some players fit and back again. The big one, my friend, and we won't spend too much time on it because we're running away a little bit, but we'll no doubt review it at the weekend. Liverpool face Chelsea, the big first blockbuster of the season. In a season where, Rob, I think those games against all the top four rivals could be key, could absolutely be key. And so it carries a huge importance for both football clubs. I think it carries what's the word? I'm trying to think that. I think for both football clubs, there's a reassurance if they win this game.
It's like a litmus test, Rob. Is it like a litmus test now where we are with the clubs? Like, see where
are Liverpool kind of back? Are they again in that kind of champions mode and that rampant and rejuvenated? Are Chelsea now the real deal? Is he the missing piece? Has Lukaku taken them to the next step? Because they've shown in the past, their form's been good, but not taking enough chances. Is this the guy? So huge game, lots of great matchups, lots of great players, two great coaches, and a full Anfield. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. It doesn't get on NBC.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that, mate. Given how they've looked at the start, the Giants, and it's a heavyweight matchup from clubs and players. In your red corner, Robbie Earle, Virgil van Dijk, back from injury, looking fit.
Boom, 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 boom. Go big, Virg. Go big, Virg.
In the blue corner, Romelu Lukaku, powerful, lean, updated version, coming into the ring.
Go,
who wins?
Who knocks out? Who knocks out?
Individual key matchup that the whole of football are going to want to see. Who can dominate that little duel?
I'm going to tell you on Sunday evening about 5 p.m. Eastern time on our podcast. That's exactly what I'm going to tell you, because it's a no commit. It's sit back, enjoy, Rob, and let's take the points after. Because it's a fit and firing Lukaku against Van Dijk that's getting back to form, that will probably still be playing into his very best form. But I just get the sense Virgil van Dijk this week has been going to bed thinking about, I'm getting myself ready for Lukaku.
When you think about the supporting cast, right? Lukaku's got Kai Havertz, Werner.
Mount.
Ziyech, Mount.
Liverpool's
supporting cast to those heavyweights. You've got Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Diogo Jota. They got
different way, innit?
It's a little undercard. Little undercard is pretty good when you look at the red side of the undercard. Now I know that's what Chelsea have done, but it's going to be a fascinating game.
Innit? Yeah. Boxer and a slugger. Yeah, looking forward to that one.
I think Christian Pulisic should be okay to play.
Oh yeah, he might be clear, so he might be part of the squad. But we'll see. Certainly those wide areas as well. I'm always interested with Chelsea, whether it's Reece James outside of Azpilicueta or the other way around, because maybe the back threats from wide.
How does Trent play?
Trent flying on. We talk about Robbo being fit. Robertson being fit for Simicast, who did a good job. So. Yeah, I mean, it's all on, absolutely all on. Can't wait for that one. A couple of other games just to mention. Spurs v Watford. Obviously, Harry Kane probably back in Premier League action for Spurs against Watford. So looking forward to that one. Wolves face Manchester United, and it's kind of, which United are we? Where are we United? Are they serious after the draw against Southampton? Can they stop? I think it's 27 games unbeaten away from home. Obviously, a brilliant record. I think they'll set a new record if they don't get beat against Wolves. But got to make sure that games they dominate and should win, that they do get the points. I think that's the difference between them and maybe the other three teams who are vying for it.
is it time for Jadon Sancho to get a start on the right hand side?
Absolutely.
And that also pushes Mason Greenwood from the right side to back to the central. Yeah. That's got to be what they're looking for this season. We know that Cavani will come back and add his thing as a centre forward, but I just want to see
Varane ready to start as well next to Varane, maybe to start. And we just heard bad news for United. McTominay looks like he's had a groin surgery. He's going to be out for a short while. Pulled out the Scotland squad as well. Yeah.
Oh, is that
so the one guy in there? Yeah, the one guy in there. You know was you go to really midfield as good as Fred and Matic can try and fill the job. So there's a bit of talk United might try to do a bit of business in between now and in the window with somebody there. I mean, I'm not sure who's on the list. Not sure how much money is available, but that would be interesting. Yves Bissouma would be an interesting addition to that group.
I'm just going through my head right now, Rob, who plays instead of McTominay, and Nemanja Matic could absolutely do that.
He did, but he didn't play very well last week, Matic.
That's what I mean.
Slowed the game down.
Can you imagine Adama Traore picking the ball up in midfield and breezing by Matic in midfield? So, yeah, that's a problem. I didn't know that, Rob. That's something that broke today.
Yeah, broke today. Yeah, McTominay's had surgery out for a few weeks. So, yeah, that's been a tough one not going with Scotland. But as ever, my friend, we'll look forward to the weekend. And then we got Brighton, Everton, Newcastle, Southampton, West Ham, Palace. Palace need a win. Patrick could do with something there. Aston Villa play Brentford. So that's Dean Smith against his former team. Norwich against Leicester City. Leicester need to get themselves back in order. And Burnley versus Leeds. I think Leeds beat them twice last season, but Burnley did get a win in the League Cup this week. So Sean Darcy's men are off and running. But that's it for our midweek potty, my friend. When the theme has been throwing things in. It's the Champions League thrown in a great draw. Harry Kane's thrown Manchester City off the scent, and Cristiano Ronaldo's thrown his hat in anybody's ring trying to get a partner. Look out for our podcast. That's going to be on Sunday. That's August the 29th. And I'm going to be joined by our very good friend, Tim Howard. Mr. Mustoe's got himself a weekend off. So Tim's going to give me his impressions of the first 3 games of the season. And no doubt he usually has a pretty cutting opinion of Manchester United and show how they go on against Wolves. And then next midweek, we've got a bonus podcast for you. We're going to put the transfer deadline show. So that'll be myself, Mustoe, Tim Howard and Rebecca. We're doing a Tuesday night transfer deadline show. That will go out on the podcast probably next Wednesday. So look out for that around September 1st, September 2nd to land. But for now, I'm Earle, he's Mustoe, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.